Go for it, Tom.
Let's do it. Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are so glad you are here with us, and just by showing up, you are already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, we continue our celebration of Women's History Month by featuring two incredibly talented and accomplished women who wear numerous hats throughout the music industry. Before we get started, let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Most of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I place music executives in roles throughout the business. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones. And ask questions of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those as possible during the interview itself. Also, please make sure your chat is set to address speakers and attendees. I want to thank our sponsors, for without their support, we could not keep this free. I want to thank First Horizon Bank, Bufkin Baker, Four Roses Bourbon, the Fairlane Hotel, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Lightning 100, Tennessee Brew Works, Moo TV, Jive Printing, Project Music, and Cushmaster's brand of CBD products. Without any further ado, let's get the party started. In today's host seat, we welcome my friend and Who Knew alumnus, Neeta Ragoowansi. Neeta has been an entertainment attorney and music business professional for over 25 years and is currently SVP of Business Development and Legal Affairs at Imprex, the first ever online marketplace for direct licensing of performance rights as well as sync and other rights. She's also president of Music Managers Forum, a global chair and board officer of Women in Music, and diversity task force chair for the American Bar Association's Forum on the Entertainment and Sports Industries. Formerly, Neeta was founding head of artist label relations and legal counsel for Sound Exchange, VP of Biz Dev and legal for TuneSat, Assistant General Counsel for the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts and National Symphony Orchestra, and a former board governor of the Recording Academy. Neeta also serves on the advisory boards of the IMMF, MIDEM, IAFAR, SIM, San Paulo, and the South by Southwest Conference. She received her BA from Emory University in Atlanta and her JD from American University in Washington, D.C. As well, attended Georgetown University as part of their LLM International Law Program and the University of Chicago, Oxford, UK. As I said, that's a lot of hats to wear. Welcome, Neeta.
Yay. Thanks, Tom. Nice to be here.
And joining Neeta as today's special guest is Teri Nelson Carpenter. Teri is currently president and CEO of Real Music Works, LLC, a full-service music rights management company that specializes in global writer, publisher, admin, licensing, and clearance and music supervision for all media. Her executive experience includes a background in performing rights management at BMI and film and TV relations, and overseeing the global music business for Fox Family Worldwide and music production administration for MGM. Her experience in protecting and monetizing music copyrights is well known and has earned her the highest level of respect worldwide. Teri serves as president of the Association of Independent Music Publishers LA chapter, and she recently held the office of the first AIMP National Chair. She's also the executive vice president of the Independent Music Publishers International Forum. She served as a two-term president and longtime board member of the California Copyright Conference, and as a member of the board of directors and finance chair at the Copyright Alliance in Washington, D.C., as well as a member of the NMPA and IPAC. Please welcome these two amazing women to the smartest people in the room. Take it away, Neeta.
Yay. Thanks, Tom. And Tom, thank you so much for having us. You are a rock star. You are a country star. You're every kind of star. So thank you so much. You're our hero. And I'm so glad that you had a bunch of us women on here for in celebration of Women's History Month. And I'm so very, very, very happy to be able to sit here with my very good friend and colleague, the fabulous Teri Nelson Carpenter. Mwah. So it is so lovely to see you. And there's amazing friends out there in the chat. I'm like, hello, everybody out there. It's a great, Lori Jacobson, so lovely to see you. And Herman Rodriguez Bajandas, it's amazing to see you, my old colleague from Sound Exchange. And so this is exciting. This is exciting to sit here and get a chance to talk to Ms. Teri Nelson Carpenter. So Teri, I'm just gonna dive right in because I wanna know about you. I want our fabulous friends out here to know more about you. Tell me, let's just kind of go a little bit chronologically for a moment.
Okay.
What does music mean to you, Teri?
Well, first off, I want to acknowledge a couple people in the chat. David Wilkinson from Ireland. Woo, you're up late, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. And I see some of my former team members. Taylor Ingram is here and she's fabulous. And Lori, thank you, because she is our PR, everything PR for the AIMP. And we are so blessed to have her influence and her team supporting us. So I see some personal friends there, Joanna and others, and Dana, love you, girlfriend. So glad to see everybody here. I'm excited. This is wonderful. So what does music kind of mean to me? Well, it kind of goes way back from when Teri was a little person. My dad is the one who exposed me to music. And quite frankly, in our family, everybody plays an instrument and or sings. Straight off, everyone. And when I grew up, my dad would be teaching 5-string traditional banjo in our living room. He was a very active member in the formation of the California Traditional Music Society and the Riverside Folk Song Society. And something else, he also was a member of the Mishpocha, which is, and excuse my Hebrew because it's not as good as his. They are an Israeli folk band, and on Friday nights we would be with families singing at the local Hadassah chapters with the Mishpocha, and then on Sundays we'd be in church with my dad leading guitar mass, and then Saturday afternoons his banjo classes. So I mean, we were surrounded by music constantly. And so my first experience with me and music and my expression of music was at age 4 when my dad pulled out his ukulele and said, why don't you sing something with your daddy? And I said, well, what should we sing? And he taught me the song, I Can't Give You Anything But Love, baby. And so
Teri, give us a few bars.
Oh no, I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I'm thinking of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while. Yeah, you know what it's all about.
Teri, I love it. Folks, I want you to know that I love Teri for breaking out in song at all the right moments with all the right songs. So I was like, I had to hear you. Thank you. Fabulous voice.
Thank you, my
Fabulous
dear.
voice. So was there a light bulb moment through that music? I mean, 4 years old, there you were, a family, music filling in the house. Was there that moment though of a light bulb moment that made you go, I wanna do something here with music?
You know what, it actually was an accumulative thing, because music is what brought me through my youth. Whenever I had an issue, whenever I was dealing with something happy or sad, I would go into my bedroom and I would play my guitar. I would never harm that instrument because it meant too much to me, but I would play that and write song after song after song to express what I was thinking inside. I was raised by a man and he had three children, and I was the youngest, and we were 5.5. I was 5.5 months, my brother 1.5 years, my sister 2.5. And my dad's an amazing man, and to bring music into our lives and great faith as well. And that's something that is of particular passion for me. He really just raised us with music. And when I was in high school, I was sitting in the corridor of the band and choir room at Cleveland High School in Reseda, California. And the band leader came to me and said, Teri, you know that song you're singing? Because I was there with my guitar, just singing a song that I had written. And he said, would you mind singing that at graduation? Because I think people need to hear that.
Nice.
And I was totally, surprised. I had, various solo, events with choir and other and theater and stuff. But this was playing in front of 650 students and their families.
Wow.
And I was there by myself with my guitar in the middle of a football field. And I sang one of my first songs that I can kind of remember, and it was called All That I Am. And it's just about everything that makes up me. And I'm happy about that.
No, yeah.
And that's pretty much what the song was about. And I sang my heart out in that performance. And afterwards, the band leader came up to me and said, that was phenomenal. It was great. Did you know that the microphone was turned the other way? Was not my job to set up the microphone. I was scared enough, but he goes, we heard every single word. That's the world. And that right there, that told me that, music has such a power. And it just clarified everything. My whole upbringing with respect to music, that somebody would want to hear my art.
Yeah. Yeah.
That meant the world.
Right. So you understand that songwriter's feeling of my baby. It's
Yes.
my baby, right? That's a beautiful thing. It's so important to know that. It's a great thing. So let's just jump over to your career, those first early years. You came out of school, and what were your first jobs? What did that look like?
Oh, well, you know what? I was really blessed. My first job, I answered a blind ad the day after I graduated, and 2 days later, I had my first job in the industry, and it was working for the largest PRO in the world and for the head of film and television, and that was Doreen Ringer Ross. She was my first boss in the business, and a woman, and a strong and a very
at BMI.
At BMI. She is amazing. Was then, still is. I am a huge fan. I love her dearly. And what she did is that she took me under her wing, and she taught me what I needed to know, so that on this journey that I was commencing on, that I would be equipped to move forward in the right way. And the thing about her is she's very thoughtful, and she's extremely talented, and she's very personable. And I never felt threatened. I never felt belittled. I felt empowered as a woman by working with someone like that, who is willing to share her knowledge with me and helping gently remind me when I needed to kind of go a different direction or handle something in a different way. I was so thankful for her in that. And that was my first job.
That was your first female role model.
Big time. I mean, other than, I will say, personally, my older sister has been a champion for me.
Beautiful.
So you good?
The female role models, Teri, I've heard you talk about male role models as well. But do female role models mean something to you?
I didn't realize how much they did until professionally, until I started with Doreen, because even though I had really good personal role models, professionally, and coming up in education, I really didn't have that. It was all male teachers and I'm just going, where are the people that look like me? They weren't there. But when I came into this job at BMI, it fulfilled two things for me. It allowed me to look at somebody like me, a woman like me in business who has been successful and allowed me to learn in a a really good environment, not
Yeah.
a toxic one, not not to say that reality wasn't around us, it always is,
Yeah.
but it wasn't with her. And I will tell you that I've had a heart for the creator since day one, with my experiences of singing at age 4 and when I was in high school. But it BMI, working for a performing rights society, you get to advocate and work very tirelessly, say that 10 times fast, on behalf of creators. And
Mhm.
that passion just, I mean, if there wasn't a good solid flame there, it was on it was on massive rocket fuel when
Yeah.
I worked at BMI. So, and then from there, I went
Mhm.
over to MGM, or to Hemdale Film Corporation. That is a small studio that had some rather large success. Platoon, Last Emperor, Hoosiers, Salvador. We did so many different films, some of them done before I got there, but obviously we're still working on ancillary markets to all of those those movies. And I really learned production at Hemdale Film Corporation.
Yeah.
And then from there I went over to MGM,
Ah.
the land of James Bond. It was fabulous. The first time we all got to meet Pierce Brosnan, we're standing on the top level of the rotunda, looking down in the MGM building, and he was so short. you know, the really handsome guy, but very short. But at MGM, I got to work with an amazing professional. His name was Richard Kaufman, and
Mm.
Richard Kaufman is a true music genius, I think, and a production executive. And I also got to work alongside Marilee Bradford, who is an amazing music professional in her own right, and so many others. So MGM was wow. I went from that independent music publishing to that major or content studio to that major film studio. And what kind of happened is MGM and Hemdale Film Corporation were financed by the same bank, Credit Lyonnais of the Netherlands. They had to bifurcate their entertainment lending branch because of all of the problems in production, and they were going to go out of business if it didn't happen. Well, of course, Hemdale did ultimately go chapter uno, as they say. And then MGM was hit with the Peretti scandal and all of that. And so, it's this industry. You move from job to job, not because of something you've done, but because of what has happened.
Right.
And then I ended up, before opening my own company, at Fox Family Worldwide, working
Mm.
with Haim Saban and Rupert Murdoch, and running their global music business for 15 and a half years.
Ah, that's the first foray into global music business for you, isn't it?
Well, actually, it's the second. The first was
Yeah.
BMI,
Oh,
because I dealt with international societies and international writers who were writing for the U.S. productions. So I had a little bit of that there. And actually, the nerdy part of me in rights management and royalties and everything that has to do with being paid for the creativity in our world, that's where the art of the deal, the art of understanding how money is made and how creators needed to be protected. That really helped me in my position in major studio and broadcast network,
hmm,
business.
right. I'm going to switch over to the global side though, because so Terry, I mean, I see you out there on the road with me in other countries. What's
All over the
amazing is
world.
you gather all of us women at MEDEM, for example, every year around the big dinner, like women from all over the world. Why is that important to you?
Well, you know what? We have a unique perspective. We are talented professionals. And somebody asked me this last week. What would you like to see in the industry to push towards greater equality? And this is why I have these women in music dinners the first Monday of MEDEM. In a perfect world, I would love to see that all people would be judged by their talent and abilities, not their sex or the color of their skin, that people would embrace what is so very special and unique about each of us and celebrate those differences so we can learn and grow from one another. What an amazing gift we can be for each other if we only truly open our hearts and our minds. And women are awesome at that. And women share. And women who have come to this dinner, I mean, I have made so many good friends and business connections. You know, when women are people are willing to open themselves and share knowledge and share resources, you know, there's nothing you can't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's give each other a chance. And that's just something that I've seen. I love the conversation, because it's about, you know, being a mother and a grandmother. It's about talking about, you know, gosh, if I don't have kids at home, I have a husband at home. Kind of the same sometimes. Sorry, Tom. Nothing nothing bad intended. But you know, it's you know, that kind of conversation, it's really nice to have. And growing up, I had a male perspective. I never learned that there was a glass ceiling. I always learned that I can do anything and be anyone I wanted as long as I worked hard and I was thoughtful and caring of others, you know, and you know,
Did
don't
that
be afraid.
perspective did that perspective shift? Or
Yeah. What did it
do you
shift in
still
this?
think there is, do you, you didn't know there was a glass ceiling. Now do you think there is a glass ceiling?
It's
Hard
funny
question.
because that concept still doesn't resonate with me. And the reason it doesn't is that I see women as able and no different than any man. And so for me, yes, have there been women and people of color who have not been able to progress because of male dominance? Yeah, I've seen it,
Mhm.
but it never stopped me. And I never lost faith in myself and the women and people that I see that need to be brought up. And I wanted to be part of that revolution, if you will. I wanted, I
You're
wanted to show
optimistic.
what I had.
You're optimistic about meritocracy. It sounds like that you believe that we're going to be based on our merits, not our gender. Other thing, you believe that.
Exactly. Exactly. I think the thing is that if you don't, I mean, I am consistent in this remark. If you don't believe that, it's not going to happen. We speak our truth and we think our truth. And if we know we're worthy and we know that we are talented, we are. And there is nothing that is going to change that. Nothing. By the way, in the chat, I have to say a little props to our friends from Mumbai that are visiting. Clinton Sarejo, so grateful that you're here. You're an amazing artist, and we're signing a deal together, and we're going to be creating music between America and India and around the world. So I'm so pleased he's here. That's such a compliment.
And I
So
love
sorry.
Michelle Schacht is out here. Hi, Michelle. And Michelle, you're right. Michelle said, and we are standing on the shoulders of women who open doors for us. So true. We wouldn't have enough time here for me to mention and name all.
Right, exactly.
It's a beautiful thing. But I often though do look at the history and the herstory, and I'm still wanting storytellers, songwriters, filmmakers, everyone out there to constantly to unfold the herstory, because I don't think we have enough stories out there about those women that we stood on the shoulders of. That you know, we need to find out more. Every day I think I turn around and get another story and I'm like, wow, I had no idea. And
Well,
that there was
Preston is a perfect example.
Frances
I mean,
Preston.
I learned so much from her being at BMI.
Yeah.
So again, another female, you know, icon at the head of the largest PRO in the world. That is so amazing.
When
And
we were growing Women in Music, she was so incredibly supportive of our organization. And between her and Charlie Feldman giving us, you know, their space at BMI and sponsoring stuff, and just, you know, and sourcing speakers to us, and just, you know, being so helpful to grow our Women in Music organization. And you know what, I want to dive into Women in Music for a moment, Teri, because
yes, let's
Teri,
do
you were
that.
with me at a very, what is, you know, sort of one of my happiest and proudest moments, when we got to launch Women in Music in India.
Yes.
And Teri, you were right by my side to help us do that. And what did that experience, tell us about that experience from your perspective? I never actually, I think, asked you what you thought of it.
Well, what was interesting is I think, Neeta, you and I were the only Americans on the panel. Uh, and
So,
we were
oh, just to
all,
give a quick lay of the land, I'm going to say we launched at a conference called All About Music in Mumbai, India, at a five-star hotel, the Taj Lands End, in front of the Arabian Sea, and the audience was filled with primarily men, about 2,000 attendees in a huge ballroom, and the lovely Tarsa Mittal, who is the I'll say with the top artist manager in India, who's also the
yes.
founder of this conference, was so supportive. And I love our male allies who help every day, who are helping women in the music industry to grow and flourish and all the good stuff. But we got a chance to unveil the launching. And we did it by first having, I did a little keynote and gave some data figures. And then Teri, yep, we had this panel. So go on. You were talking about the panel. I just wanted to give a lay of the land.
It was a panel of women who held different positions within the music industry. Some were creators, some were business, some were publishers, record company, you name it. And everybody gave their story. And what was so profound to me is that when it came to me, I was listening to all these women about, how much they have, really, it's not all is equal in India for women, and to hear their stories was a little painful for
Yeah.
me, yet very inspirational, because they did not stop. They did continue because they believed in themselves, and they showed it on that panel. And being able to share as a woman working, my part was first about my mentor Doreen Ringer Ross and what that meant to me, but then a business success that I had at Fox Family Worldwide that meant the world to me, because as the only female executive at the time, I was able to take that music department and that budget and that income, and I was able to raise it 85% within 16 months. That is a huge, being a profit center for people like Chaim Saban and Rupert Murdoch is a very significant thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like I was being taken seriously in their eyes, because I was able to achieve this on a global basis. I reworked their entire music division. We were not rep by Warner any longer. We became direct members in all the key countries around the world, and all the key performance, mechanical, neighboring, and secondary rights. And that was something that just, it meant a lot to me. So to be able to share that.
And that story that you told to that audience of, mostly, well, I mean, there was a mixture of artists and business people, but I got so much feedback from the businessmen and women there, because it was so important to hear that story, that a female executive or a female professional is able to bring profit to a business. I had just unveiled, just prior to you telling that story, I had shown the audience PowerPoints about studies that had shown that the more women in senior management, the more profit you make. And those are huge studies out there in the business sector amongst 1 million,
I'll go for that.
surveyed. So these are huge studies that show that. And so it was wonderful that you just brought that home, right? That you just contextualized it and brought that point home of, I made 85% profit, like for this company. So it was just a very powerful moment, and I thank you for it. And women in music India, yeah. So what was amazing was on that panel to hear, I mean, there's so many challenges. What the story there is a story that happens all around the world. There are some countries that are better at getting to equity, getting better at diversity, getting better at women in senior management, et cetera. And there are some countries who have a lot of work to do, right? And we see the spectrum. I remember at Meedem, where we had women from different countries on stage. And, someone was showing how France had 0 women at the time in senior management in any of the French music industry. In Australia, it felt like they had around 50-50. And we were like, okay, Australia, go talk to France and tell them how you got there, get some lessons, teach some lessons there. But in India, it's there's so many. It's one of those places that I feel overall needs a lot of work. And to hear a female songwriter, a composer on our panel.
Merlin D'Souza.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Merlin.
She had written. She had had a background in gospel music because she grew up as an Indian in the Catholic Church there, and in a gospel church. And she had told the story of, it was clear that it was her musical vision. She was working as an apprentice in a particular studio. It was her musical vision that created the first opening bars that are the big hook to one of the biggest blockbuster platinum songs from a movie, from a Bollywood movie in the 1990s. It's on Netflix anyway. And that she wrote it, but she never got credit. That she never got credit for it. When you look at it, there's really no, maybe in the past year or two, but up until then, at this time, no female songwriters in India in all of Bollywood. It was kind of like, what? How's that?
Yeah.
Well, at least we have like 12% in the UK or something of the top 600 songs, but
I loved it because she sat down at the piano and we're playing some of that music, and the entire audience was singing and moving their heads to it. And she was kind of making her point. Yeah, I'm glad you all like it, but I think we should all be earning money from this. Yeah. And one thing that I'd love to share that I think Neeta would agree is that at the end of this panel, we got a standing ovation from all of those men. And it's the first time an all-female panel in any music conference were acknowledged that way. I think we were all, brought to tears almost, because it was so great. And, speaking of India, one of my most significant moments in my career was when the Commerce Department via the State Department tapped me to be part of a trade delegation to India. And that was my first visit. And I went to Hyderabad, and I was part of the US delegation that covered a few different industries, one of which was media and entertainment. And I was the only music company that was part of the delegation. And I was there to mentor and to speak. And it was called Women First, Prosperity for All. And there were 160 different countries, women from different countries that attended. And I will tell you, I have this one great story. I was on the main stage with 2 other gentlemen for one of the premier panels, and it was owning your social media. And I was sitting next to, and we had to talk about who we are, what we do, and then in the ecosystem of social media, how do we use it in business? And so I was sitting next to, on the dais, with Payush Pandey, the executive chairman of Ogilvy & Mather, and then Sashi Vempati from the largest public television station in India. And Sashi was the moderator, and he said they agreed early that I would make the first comment on the panel. And they said, Teri, would you like to make an opening statement? And I said, yes, I'd like to say that these 2 men can't do anything without me. And all the women in the room started laughing. And I said, ladies, it's probably not what you think. Let me tell you, as a music professional, there are advertising, all of the advertising that Ogilvy & Mathers does, half of the equation is music. And every program, whether it's reality or scripted or whatever the program is that Sashi puts on the air, music is a driver. It's half the equation. So these guys, they're only half until I make them whole. But it's because I do music. It's not because I am a woman. It's because I am a professional in the music industry, and they need my product.
Yeah.
And then it was really wonderful because it was all women out there. And I will tell you just this last bit, after the panel was over, I didn't realize it was live on TV in India, by the way. I learned later. And I was standing talking to, they, you know how people line up to say hi to the people who spoke on the panel. I had a line going out the door, and for the next hour and a half, I spoke to each and every woman in line, and they stayed in line. And the one thing that each of them said to me was, how do I make them listen? And I kind of coyishly said to them, well, what do you mean them? And they said, men. How do I get them to listen? And I said, you continue to create, you continue to innovate, and you continue to work on you, and they will not be able to deny you. They will have to deal with you. Have faith in yourself and who you are, and that is all you need.
Well, that's all you can do, right?
It is.
But
It
there is
is.
there is more to
Yes.
that topic, right? I mean, it's the work that so many women's rights organizations work on, workplace initiatives, gender bias, education and training inside of companies is huge. It's so important. I mean, every time I'm part of some other organizations and we go into companies and we do that sort of training and it is amazing the feedback we get because there are so many examples where men and women
Yeah.
did not recognize that their behavior was actually was based on a gender bias
Exactly.
and putting up hurdles, challenges, and walls to a woman from being heard or being able to feel comfortable enough to lean into a discussion or all of the problems. So it is about staying strong in your lane, right? And
Exactly.
be committed to being heard and being, I always talk about knowledge is power. Like learn to be the expert in the room, pick that one thing, the one thing maybe that's your niche that nobody else knows, and learn it and be good at it because then everyone in the company or whatever will come to you
Exactly.
for advice and they won't be their gender bias kind of dissipates when
Right.
you're the one person in the room that knows the answer to that question. So knowledge is power, folks. Anyway, you know what? I want to turn this a little because we're looking in the chat and Stephanie asked a great question. Well, actually, I'm going to go to Elizabeth Cleveland's first. I mean, it is quite important. This is a tough one. You're not an expert at this, neither am I. There are people who are, and I know at Women in Music, we try to, we sort of try to point people to resources on this. But the question was, do you have any advice for women that experience sexual harassment in the industry? And I know we've had the music industry hasn't. We've had bits and spurts. There's some amazing documentaries that have come out, bits and spurts of the Me Too movement, but it's not as strong as it's been in the film and TV world. Um, and part of the question is really about you know i- if the advice. I mean, I think one of the pieces of advice for women that experience sexual harassment is go report it, go tell your
Exactly.
story, right?
Do not be silent. Do not be silent. And I think the other thing is seek out other women in the industry. I've had a couple young ladies reach out to me from another panel that I did saying that, it's very important to me to be a mentor. And I am so honored to be mentoring a few women now. One of them, Amber Stoneman of Nashville Unsigned. I absolutely adore this woman, and she is one strong lady who is just working as hard as possible to just move her career forward. And we share so much. And also Lydia Schultz from CSAC, who I just started mentoring, and then two other girls who I do not know, who said, would you mind if we connected? And I said, I'd be happy to. And they reached out to me because they want to hear from my perspective certain bits of information, whatever their need might be. So I think that we need to make sure that we reach out to other women in music. If you're not a member, become a member, because it is something that is going to serve you well. And if you're not a member of the AIMP, Association of Independent Music Publishers, please join. When you network and you're around people and you have integrity in your business, you believe in yourself, and you have the talent, and you've been able to obtain the ability to do the job, whether it's inherent as far as an artist goes or in business, stand strong, because you have people like Neeta, people like Tom, people like myself who really, really want to see everyone, no matter who you are, but especially women. We want to see you thrive, and we have your back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that I love and I hate, but I love that the chat lit up when we talk about the fact about say something if you think that you're subject to abuse or harassment, to do something, say something, and do it immediately. So many of the issues that have come up around that and the challenges to someone saying something has been, why did you wait so long? So it is important to be aware, to identify when it's happening. I mean, that's also, I know that it's been a challenge for a lot of women we talk to, is, artists who are in the recording studio, for example, and don't even know it's kind of happening to them until they kind of,
They're kind of going, what?
go,
Yeah.
wait, did I just experience this? Is this what's wrong with me? Right? A lot of it gets blocked out.
Well, yeah, it's also sometimes very passive aggressive when you're in a meeting and you're in a conference and I have been the only woman at the table more times than I care to say. And it's how I was able to navigate this conversation of not allowing myself to be ran over, but to be heard and not be seen, excuse my expression, as a bitch. I'm not. But you know what? I will make my point. I will make it with authority of understanding and my perspective. And one of the things that I have found in business, that for me, if you are a profit center, they will listen to you. If you do what you do well, they will listen to you.
Hmm.
But it's life is not always fair, right? And I think the one thing that we need to do as women is know how incredibly special women are and what we bring to the table. It's okay to say woman, man, mom, dad, all these all these different terms. I'm proud to be a woman, proud to be a wife, proud to be a mother, proud to be a grandmother, and proud to be a business owner where it just happens to be my entire team are all women.
And it is so important to have strong role models out there like you, Teri.
Yes.
I mean, I know that the topics we're talking about are incredibly important, and I want to be cognizant of our time too, and I want to push out the role model in you, because I think it's so important for everyone to see. And you started your own business, and you were an entrepreneur. Um, can you just tell me why? Why did you do it?
There's a couple reasons. First of all, I was still under contract to actually Saban Capital Group at the time, because Rupert Murdoch and Chaim Saban exercised their put option. They sold Fox Family worldwide with the two broadcast networks and the multiple production companies to Disney. But they didn't sell the music, and I still managed that asset globally. But it was now all about venture capital and kicking the tires and seeing what we could get for nothing, so to speak, And I went, that's not me. I am somebody who needs to work with creators. I need to protect the rights of creators, and we all can benefit from that. That's what I am meant to be, and to produce music for audiovisual, for film, television, ad. And this is something that I said, you know what, the only way I'm going to be able to do that at this point is I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to take the risk, working for some of the biggest risk takers in the world. I'm going to start my own company. And believe it or not, Chaim Saban and Rupert Murdoch were my foundation clients. They helped me start my business. I was able to take my job from their company and bring it over to Real Music Works, and that's how we started.
Right. So what does Real Music Works do? What kind of catalog do you look at?
Well,
Talk publishing a little.
We actually do two things. We create music for audiovisual, for all different media, and we provide international rights management for those creations. Now, our services are threefold. We provide global writer publisher administration, we provide licensing and clearance, and music supervision for all media. We have a really awesome team. I'm happy to say that we are now opening up a new headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee. I am sitting in my new office. Woo, Tom says. We still have our office in Los Angeles and a great team there. And so I'm kind of doing the back and forth between Los Angeles and Nashville.
Come to
And
New York too. I heard the rent's going down.
yeah, right. Oh my God. You
Yeah.
know, it's, well, I mean, with COVID, I have a complete beautiful office with suite with several offices and nobody can go in it in LA. But here in Tennessee, we're not in a traditional building. We're in a home in Berry Hill. And, you know, Blackbird is my neighbor and East Iris, you know, House of Blues Studios are right next door and a whole bunch of great producers, Ron Fair, they're all on our block. It's amazing. I love this, the energy here. And, you know, we are built, the last thing we have to do and before we open on May 25th is finish our studio. We're opening a recording studio. We already have a writer room. We already have a lounge. We have a backyard that has 1,000 square foot of wood decking where we're going to have summer socials, where we're going to highlight our talent from our company and invite our neighbors, our Nashville community to come join us so that we can show them what we're all about.
Nice.
How's that for an answer?
I love it. Let's talk about publishing. I mean, you know, I'm just watching some of the love and the beautiful sisters out there in the chat, and you know, yeah, and it's so hard to go into publishing after because there's so much heartfelt conversation here. You know, Michelle Shocked, I just want to point out, I'm so glad you said, you know, these gals are so inspiring, but that, you know, that you pointed out what we do know is that it's nothing we do or how we look. It's not us, it's them. And that is so important when we start looking at the issues around being a woman in the music industry and beyond, that it is really about educating everybody else, right? It's about teaching them how to behave, basically. So let's just keep our eye on the ball there, and let's go to publishing. Um, what what's working in publishing and what's not? You actually not just Real Music Works, amazing, but you get out there in the world. You sit on committees and boards. You're national chair of the AIMP. What's your position over there at CISAC?
Well, at CISAC, I am a member of the Joint Project Lead. I am the independent publisher rep. And what we do is we govern all cross-industry projects under CISAC. So some of those happen to involve the Society Publisher Forum,
Mhm.
where members of societies and publishers come together and we talk about the issues at hand and we develop committees who develop products that will hopefully better our administration and identification of copyright and royalties. Right now, I've been very, very heavy on the Q sheet harmonization committee where I am the publisher lead, music and commercials, and we are looking at you know, so many different ways for CWR, which Common Works registration, common royalty distribution. I mean, you name it, everything that you could think of in the ecosystem of business, in the management of music, we are dealing with, and we have different people who are experts in different areas. It's so great because I get to work with Dee Hale from Sony on these AV committees, and so another Nashville, you know, stellar woman in business and in music. And so we, you know, and Debbie Rose, our vice president of the AIMP in New York. It's such a pleasure to be working with her as well.
Yeah.
And so women are really well represented
Yeah,
at
definitely.
CISAC and in the committees.
Teri, I want to nerd out with you
Yes.
because harmonization, standardization of cue sheets.
Oh.
What's working, what's not working with cue sheets? Because
Well, I think what we're
yeah,
taking the narrow, you know, there are two things. There are those who are automated and those who are not. And they're equally as troubling because if you have too many formats in automation, you're going to have information coming to the societies who are the people responsible for taking from the users of music and paying the creators of music. And for them to be able to do that, you have to be able to have your paperwork right. And what we're trying to do is unify the influx of data to these organizations that collect and manage our copyrights. And so having an independent producer who doesn't have, for whatever reason, access to an online automated digital music cue sheet system, they're going to do a paper one. And it's something that every single content creator, it's a deliverable item. It's a legal document. It is the chronological listing of all music contained in an audiovisual program. That's what a cue sheet is. And you have to make sure that that is correct. The metadata is key, because you register that metadata, you register those songs, all the metadata, the cue sheet, the performance data comes in, and they match it. So everything needs to work together. Now, you know, there's Rapid Cue, there's many different others, as I said, digital formats, but we're working on what the format should ultimately look like, what it's missing, and the identifiers. And what we did is we took primarily the ASCAP BMI, you know, Rapid Cue, and we looked at that, and on a global basis, the needs are not all the same. So we're looking at that and we're saying, okay, what needs to be included in here? And also the identifiers, how we are identifying music in a harmonious way worldwide. We hope now to be working with SoundMouse in our committee, and we're starting at the end of this month, in working together on this online system, taking the 2.5 years it took for us to put this together, because when you're dealing with people from all over the world, the concerns are different. Large and small societies, different ways that they treat music, and different ways that they pay out music. So we had to really go through all of that. What an education, an amazing education. But we came up with a useful tool. And so what we want to do is really say, okay, if we can take the best bits of Rapid Cue, our cue sheet harmonization project, work with a partner like SoundMouse, and get this so that we can all agree. How wonderful. But it does take money to implement a new program. And this is one of the difficult parts of this.
This is right. Yeah, it's an expensive process. And when we look at certain countries that don't have the funding to
Exactly.
accelerate the technology advancements inside of their PROs, inside of their collecting societies, there's a challenge there, right? It feels like.
Well, you know what, there definitely is. But the thing is it is going to be a survival of the fittest with societies. It's just going to turn out to be that. And you're already seeing some consolidation and different hubs, you know, with ICE and, you know, I mean, Mint for,
Harmonia.
you know, and Harmonia, just all different kinds. And they're great, but this is what you're seeing in a consolidation this way. But, you know, there's one thing I want to travel back to, and that is how we are working around the world in our company, Real Music Works. One of the people on the chat here is Clinton Cerejo, an amazing professional who you know very well. He was one of the Indian Idol judges, has worked with A.R. Rahman. I mean, he is such an amazing artist, and his band, Shore Police, great band. And one of the things that we've done during COVID is we've become closer as friends, and now we are entering into business together. And we are creating a catalog called Tunes Without Borders. And we're going to be taking all different styles of music, and we are going to be marketing those toward film and television, and for them to be covered by major artists where possible. And
With
I've
a
also,
world music sound, a world music vision.
it's gonna, you know what? Rock is rock, pop is pop, hip hop is hip hop. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you're in Juhu, you know, India. Yeah. And, and
Google it.
exactly, you know,
Mouse there.
you're you know, music can come from any place. And so, yes, we want to celebrate what's unique to the territory, but we also want to bring forth talent that is the same globally. We also have a venture happening with a joint venture in South Africa, out of Johannesburg, and Jeffreys Bay, the #1, you know, surfing spot in the world. We are it's called Groot Klink, and it's Dutch for big sound. And so we are working on a very different vibe in that regard. And that is something that I'm so excited. We're going to have some great music coming out of that, that is just going to blow your socks off. If everybody liked Jerusalem, this year, if you haven't listened to it, type Africa and Jerusalem. And I'm going to tell you, you are going to hear the most infectious song you have ever heard, and you will not want it to leave your ears. It's fabulous. So globally, we are direct members of all the performing, mechanical, neighboring, and secondary rights organizations. We've worked hard on that infrastructure, and that's what I think sets us apart from most independent publishers, is that infrastructure and our ability to know what it's like to be inside a production company, broadcast network, and music division in creating music for audiovisual and for covers.
Right.
And working for a society and knowing how to really put that that knowledge to work for us and really show the value that we have for our creators. Very important. Very important.
On the royalty side, having global production music,
Yeah.
is that a challenge, collecting all your pennies around the
Well,
world? I mean,
it's
you're
kind of,
a member of a society, but what does that really look like in your day to day?
well, production music's really come full circle, hasn't it? It used to be those weird sounds, those, sound music that we would put in recaps or teasers or PSAs or whatever little kind of interstitial type of programming. And now they are becoming artist based. But isn't that what a publisher does?
Mm,
Isn't that what a record label does? I mean, it really is coming full circle. It's a crowded field and there is competition. For those weak at heart, if you're not willing to fight because you believe in your artist, it's going to be a tough haul for you.
yeah.
I will tell you that production music is wonderful, but we like to call it custom music, because actually it is custom music
Mm,
prepared and put together, and nobody else has that,
yeah.
meaning our sound is our sound, our specialties are our specialty. So I can say that even with production music, some of the things we have to worry about is those royalty free production houses, those buyouts that people are entering into, and just not honoring the copyrights that we've created. We are going to change our business if we don't support the ownership and retention of ownership by authors and publishers
Right.
and artists and labels. You can't just, a $500 fee for Netflix isn't gonna do it. And they're just doing what they think is right for business. I'm not slamming them at all. They give a lot of opportunity to creatives, and we're very thankful for that. But just say no when they ask to buy you out or own your music.
Hmm.
Just
So
say
AIMP,
yes.
Association of Independent Music Publishers. What's on the agenda for 2021, 2022? What are you
Well,
working on?
Well, we have what's coming up in June, which is our annual Global Music Publisher Summit. It usually is held in person in New York, but we're unable to meet in person. So we're doing a virtual summit this year. And it's all within that Songwriter Week where the NMPA will have their General Assembly as planned. I don't believe the Songwriters Hall of Fame will be doing anything that week, but we are going to be talking about the state of the music industry on day one. We're going to be talking about the creation of music and songwriters and everything to do with creating music on the second day. And the third day is our International Day, where we're going to bring in our partners from around the world and talk about, the issues at hand. And we hope to have a lot of networking potential. So that's coming up in the first week of June. And then the Los Angeles chapter is going to be launching its Spotlight Awards. It's a very new event. We're hoping to have it in person this year, but if not, we will have an online version to kick off this new event. We are going to be talking about upfronts on all of the different TV shows, the films that are in play, and the music that is needed for each of those programs. And we're going to be having a conversation with some of the top composers. And I will say, there will be women present on that stage. And we will also be talking about what we just talked about, and that is the business of music and the different issues that confront us. And I think Q Sheets is going to be a very big item on that discussion. So this is this year, and we hope to be back in person sometime in the fall. And then in 2022, we hope to be fully back in action, both in person, and we will continue our online webinars. We're going to hopefully have all of our panels, which we normally do in LA, at Lowry's in Beverly Hills. We have luncheons every month with great panels, and we hope to bring those live into the webinar space. There are recordings. Please, if you're a member, you can log on and look at all our historical meetings. They're all taped. And that's really great, because if you miss something, you can listen again and get that information.
AIMP Archives is amazing. I mean, all the programming you guys do is amazing. And Teri, your leadership there has been just wonderful. It's like, it is not an easy thing to do. And then you guys are like almost an all volunteer organization. Is that right? Or
we have one paid as secretary part-time.
Same with Women in Music. You know, someone had asked real quick, Women in Music, we have 26 chapters around the world and growing. And someone asked about Hong Kong. And if you're interested, email me, Neeta@womeninmusic.org, because I would love to talk about Hong Kong if you have any fabulous women leaders there that you think might help. But it is amazing that we've been able to have 26 chapters, all volunteers, you know, running it. And like that AIMP, I mean, it is not an easy task. And you guys put on an amazing annual conference. You have Nashville and New York and LA, and doing all of this amazing activity and programming. And I'm always amazed to look at like all of the amazing content that you create and the initiatives that you put out there. All based on volunteer work. And you know, we all need that one little administrator or that person that helps us in the office. But yeah,
well, you know, the thing is we get support from organizations like Women in Music, and one of the other biggest supporters of AIMP has been the NMPA. They have truly been a great partner. They are our trade organization, because the AIMP is not a trade body. We educate, advocate, and communicate. That's what we do. And we leave the trade negotiations to our representatives at the NMPA, who do an amazing job on our behalf. And we're thankful to partner with them. The Independent Publishers Advisory Council, the IPAC, there are several of us that are on that council. And so they look to us to hear our opinions, our insights, in order to add information to their decisions and their negotiations. So we're very thankful for that. And globally, we're partnering with the Independent Music Publishers International Forum. I'm executive VP of that. And that brings all the independent publishers from around the world. So, together we're really trying to unify. We're sister organizations that are working very hard to really complement one another, and we've done a lot of joint events. So
trade resources and be able to hopefully standardize, unify, and not keep reinventing the wheel in each country when everybody needs the same thing. Okay, I have this one last bit for you here, Teri. I see you running on Instagram. I see your Instagram account, and you're always running. Is this a passion of yours? What's going on?
Well, actually, I'm also swimming and I'm biking. I am training for the Memphis St. Jude Half Ironman. It's going to be on October 2nd. This is my second Half Ironman. The first one was the Vine Man in Sonoma, Napa Valley. I got to, swim, bike, and run past my favorite wineries, and I got to drink at them afterwards, which was great.
There was inspiration.
Well, this is a passion, because my philanthropic side is always centered around children and children in need and children with special needs. And, St. Jude's Hospital is so amazing, and they open their doors no matter what your ability to pay. And the fact that, we can serve these children by raising money, destroying our health through, swimming, biking, and running, ungodly, distances, is just a minor thing that we can do to bring happiness to kids and their families. So it's an honor.
Beautiful, Teri. Well, on Instagram, it looks like you're kicking butt. And actually, you know what? You're kicking butt in everything you do. And we are so happy to have you in our music community and our industry. You've been such a blessing. Yes, Teri is a rock star. Teri is Wonder Woman. The chat
Oh,
is
that's
telling us
awesome.
as such. Thank you to everybody. Hey, Tom, I think we might be done. Teri, thank you so much for being here. We've really enjoyed chatting with you today.
You know what? Thank you. And Nita, you are amazing.
Mm.
And it's such a privilege to get to work in this industry with women like you. Thank
Oh, thank you so much, Teri. Thank you.
And you're a
Well,
fun buddy to be with around the world.
Let's hope we get back out there on the road soon.
Yes, on the road
Mhm.
again.
See you on the other side of the world, girl.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
guys, let me jump in here and say thank you on behalf of the audience. That was remarkable. And I can anticipate a question coming from the audience, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it. How about the two of you come back here and do this exact same thing later on with the seats reversed? Teri, you
Yes,
interview Neeta.
Oh,
I
my.
would love to. I would love to.
Only
Sorry to
back
put
to
you on the
back shoes now.
sorry to put you on the spot like that, but I know the audience would love that, and I would too.
I would love.
Um, this has been awesome, inspiring, informative. I don't know how you do all that you do. Lord, woman. I mean, you need a personal assistant just to keep your calendar going, I would imagine.
Yeah,
But
I've got a company full of incredible and able women. So I am very I'm well taken care of. Thanks.
amen. Well, folks out there in the audience, please keep tuning in. We'll do two more of these next week with some more remarkably talented women. In fact, I'm excited. On Wednesday, we are delving into the world of cannabis in the music industry with two very talented senior executives from that world. So please tune in. With that, I simply want to say be nice to one another, get a shot, and wear a mask. Take care.
Amen. Be safe. Thank you for joining us.
Take care. Thank you, Tom. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, Nita. Thanks, Tom.
Right on.